Okay, I believe the recording's going. So welcome everyone. My name is Sydney Chautreau and I am a member of the Tennessee Fall Prevention Coalition. On behalf of all of the coalition members across Tennessee, we want to welcome you to the third session in the Tennessee Fall Prevention Coalition's virtual program demonstration series for National Fall Prevention Awareness Week. Governor Lee also made a formal proclamation recognizing September 20th to the 24th as Fall Prevention Awareness Week in Tennessee. So we appreciate you all joining us for all these informational sessions. The series would not be made possible without our amazing coalition members who helped develop the data collection surveys that you all did when you registered, volunteers like Terri, who is going to speak with us today during the series, and work and strive every day to educate, promote, and provide programs and services across Tennessee to help reduce the occurrences of falls in older adults. Thank you all truly from the bottom of our hearts. For the audience, this session is being recorded, so you have all been placed on mute to reduce the background noise out of respect for our presenter. If you have your camera on, now is the time to consider turning it off if you don't want to be seen on the recording. If you have any questions or comments or want to share in any of the discussion, we encourage you to do so using the chat feature, and we'll address questions at the end of the presentation. We have a wonderful presentation for you today that will discuss the Stay Active and Independent for Life SAIL program. There is going to be a part of the presentation where the speaker will ask you to join them in performing some exercises. So we encourage you all to participate, but we want to make sure that you do that safely. And I know Terri will go over some safety things as well. But we encourage you all to participate. We would like to see and make sure that you're wearing, athletic shoes, preferably closed-toes shoes, have the area around you cleared of any objects that may be a tripping or fall hazard. Have some water handy to stay hydrated. And if at any time you need to take a break, please feel free to do so. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Terri Stewart, who is a SAIL master trainer here in Tennessee. She'll tell you a little bit about herself and lead our discussion. So thank you so much, Terri, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It is my joy and pleasure to be here and share SAIL with you. Let me share just a tiny bit about my background. Is that my history is as a registered nurse. So I worked hospital work. I've also had some time in the nursing home, worked in the wellness portions. And so often I saw the effects of falls that people would have. They may have a broken hip or some type of injury that would bring them to the hospital that we would therefore treat. For just on a personal note is that my mother suffered a life-changing fall. And it just totally changed her life and our family and all the things that she can do and a lot of limitations for her and that things that she still struggles with. So I feel very adamant about working on helping with fall prevention and working with balance and just helping people to be stronger and for their everyday life. So think about those things that you do every day. Maybe you may do things without thinking. It may be carrying your groceries. It may be you get on a rainy day like today, it is raining here in East Tennessee, you may have to park a little further out and you've got to walk a little distance and maybe at a little faster pace to be able to get in without getting drowned. You may, or maybe you're at a ball game, you're sitting on the bleachers and it's hard to get up off those bleachers or out of a chair. So, and another thing that I see that people may limit is that they may go into church or going to the movies, anywhere that you're having to move and step over and move laterally. It may be a ball game. So I see that happen a lot. And so is that something that you have had difficulty with maybe? Or maybe you've had a neighbor that you've seen go through these type of things and your decision is, well, I really don't want to go through those type of problems. So SAIL is an answer to work on all of those things. So as Sydney mentioned, SAIL stands for Stay Active and Independent for Life. And that's probably what we really all want to be, is to try to be independent as we can possibly be. And so that is really, again, that's what SAIL, that's really what we work on. So we have, it is an evidence-based program. It was developed in Washington State. And that means being evidence-based that it has been studied and it has been proven to reduce falls. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I'm so thankful that that for SAIL and all the other programs that are being talked about this week, they're helping for fall prevention. There are some unique components to SAIL. One of those is that there's a set recipe. So every instructor and all of our instructors come in with some background in an exercise in some fashion, certifications, perhaps to have a degree in occupational therapy, physical therapy, exercise science, or maybe they've been conducting walk with ease programs or one of the other many programs that are around for to help people to be stronger and exercise related. So they all come in and we teach them this recipe. So now we all may have that favorite recipe of or favorite dish that we go. Maybe you enjoy Chick-fil-A, or maybe you like Kentucky Fried Chicken, or you have that favorite place that's a chain. And so no matter where you go, and that would be in Tennessee or anywhere in the United States that you would take SAIL, that there's a set recipe that we use because we know that it has been proven to be effective. And we all stay by that recipe. So that's one thing that you can be certain of, that no matter where, if you live in East Tennessee and you move to West Tennessee or Middle Tennessee, another portion of the state, when you go take that class, you're going to have these basic exercises in it. So that's a very wonderful thing. And all the instructors are very thoroughly, we have a very thorough training that we go through to help people to learn this, help them to learn modifications if they need to, because people are of all different fitness levels that come into SAIL. So when we like that, and we prepare our instructors for that. Another unique thing, and this is one of my favorite things about SAIL, is that they do fitness testing. So our fitness testing, and it's kind of rare because I work in a gym setting teaching other programs, and this has been a rare thing. And one thing I really love about that. So we do this when people come first into the program, and then we're going to routinely. So this piece of paper that I'm showing up is just a copy of our fitness assessments that we do. So I will show in just a minute the three things that we do for our testing. But when we check biceps curls, and we're looking at, we have a set weight that we use for men and for women, that we do the testing with everyone unless they have a particular issue that they can't. But when that's looking at upper body strength, so that's carrying those groceries, that's all of those activities we use those arms for. Another test we do is our sit to stands. This is a very critical exercise. So because people, just for daily life, to be able to get up and down out of a chair, to be for toileting, to be able to get up and down off the toilet, just whatever, get up and down out of the bed. It's very, very critical exercise. So that's one of the things that we test as well. And we do that when we ask people to not use their hands to see if they can get up. And our goal is to build that lower body strength that's going to help power them up. And the additional test that we do, the third test, is that we do a timed up and go. So we measure out a distance, and we have people with their timer. We sit, they're going to stand up, they're going to walk out 8 feet, and they're going to turn around, and they're going to come and they're going to sit back down. There's a couple of things that checks for. So of course we're looking at their gait there. When they make that little turn, that is actually a balance. When they make little quick turns, I know I've oftentimes had in the hospital had people tell me, well, I made that little quick turn and had a fall. So those are all things that we're working on. And then we'll look at that gait speed, because that is, kind of determines that fitness level. And we try to improve all of that. So we give people this piece of paper. And one thing that I like doing this, they'll be able to see where they started at. Then when we recheck it, for my group here in East Tennessee, they'll be able to look through the year, as we'll have different times that we do these checks, and they're going to be able to see that how they've done, how they've gotten stronger. And it is an extremely rare occasion that we don't see someone stay the same or get better. So some people may think, oh, just stay the same, that's not good. But staying the same, but you may have gotten a year older. So we lose that muscle strength as we're getting older. So that's very critical to maintain all of that. And then we give them this sheet, and it kind of gives them, based on their age group, when they did this study, it was a great big study of people that they did. And then this is kind of where people fail. So it kind of gives you a qualitative measure on that for people, because some people like to see that data. And then also they'll have this, and we provide them a copy, and so they can take that. And I love for them to show this to their family, or to, more importantly, to take it to their doctor, so their doctor or their physical therapist, if that's the case, that they can look and they can see these measurements that we're doing. It's almost, for our people, they're very proud of these pieces of paper. So when we do this fitness testing, it's such a wonderful day, because everybody is so excited because to get these results, and they'll see that they've gotten better. Or it's times that we can help encourage people as instructors, and that we might encourage them to adjust some weights or make some modifications there. So it's a great, unique tool to sell. All right. Those things that I mentioned and that recipe, I want to kind of go over just a little bit. So we have a very specific order that we do with our sale exercises. So I kind of like to think, of course, I'm talking on the food thing here, but when we were talking about a recipe, and many of us, we may have made a cake somewhere, and you follow those directions. So maybe you're making a cake. That first direction is that you're going to put your butter and your sugar in the bowl, and you're going to cream you're going to cream your butter and sugar together. And then you're going to add each egg, and you're going to add them one at a time. So there's a certain order that you do to get those best results. And that is what we do in sale. So our order that we do is, and it's a 1-hour class, by the way, is that we do warm up, and that can be done in either seated or standing. So whichever, or it can be mix and matched. Some people may need to, I can stand or do part of it standing, and then I'm going to move to a chair to finish out. And that is okay to do that. So we have a warm up, we do aerobics, we go into a balance portion, and we have great balance exercises. So we have one portion that is focused on dynamic balance. So that's those things that we talk about doing. You're doing those up and overs when you're getting in and out of the tub, or maybe you have some groceries, or you're staying at your grandchild, you're babysitting, and they have all those toys in the floor, and you have to step up and over those things. So that is one thing that dynamic balance works on. And then we work static balance. So those are things where we're standing still, such as a single leg balance, or standing on the balance beam. All exercises that we work. And a lot of those things, I know I've had someone report back to me, and working in that balance when you're just standing, that they were at an event where they had to stand in a large crowd, and everybody was really tight together. So they had to stand with their feet really close together for a long time. And that was really affecting them and very hard for them to maintain that balance. So those are all things that we work to make those things better when they occur. The next portion that we do is to work on our strength. So very critical. As I mentioned, if we're breathing and we get older, we lose muscle strength, a thing called sarcopenia. And that's all things we want to work. And this strength that is just so critical to help us to maintain our everyday life, from working a vacuum cleaner, to pushing a door open, to, as I mentioned, getting up and down out of the chair, just for all those things for daily life. They're so very critical. So we work upper body exercises, and we have a set of exercises that are going to make our shoulders stronger. I know I've had many people come in and tell me that, oh my goodness, I can get my dishes out of my cabinet now where I couldn't get them. And as I tell my people, as we know we're getting into the holidays, and we know we all keep those holiday dishes up on a higher shelf because we don't use them every day. So we want to be able to do that. So all those, you're lifting things up, you're lifting your garbage up, you're lifting grocery bags out of the back of your car, out of the trunk perhaps. So all that works on the upper body strength. We also do some core exercises included in the upper body strength, because we want our core very strong. That's a very important part of working with balance as well and keeping our balance. So we want to keep our core strength. And of course, we do all of our exercises being mindful of keeping our core nice and tight so we can strengthen those abdominal muscles. Then we get into those lower body exercises. So the lower body exercises are so critical for balance and that muscle strength to keep you strong to walk if you have to walk longer distances. So we have a set exercises that we do. So many people are really weak in their hips. And so when they're weak, maybe they take that, they're having to move laterally and they may have a fall. And that's how most of those hip fractures occur. It's by lateral falls. So we want to work on that strength. And we work on our form. We talk about form so that we can develop that really good strength there in our hips and all around in our legs to keep our quadriceps and our hamstrings strong. So all of that is working on that. They all have effect, walking, everything. So, and then next we work on stretching or flexibility. So we all know that, as we say, that we do the first part of the class till we get to that really good. This is like the cherry on top of the dessert. So it feels so good to work in that stretching. And we work from the top of our head down to our pinky toe to really stretch. Work in our hands too. We have exercises, stretches to work on our hands, wrists, just everything, all for your whole body. That's going to make you feel so good after you've exercised. And we typically spend 8 to 10 minutes just working on that flexibility. And of course, the final thing that we do is education. So with every participant in SAIL is that they get an information guide. And this has such wonderful information in it. And with keeping people healthy and keeping them safe from falls. One thing that I really like in here is a sheet that says my falls free plan. So there's things that you can go in, and sometimes you may think that you have went through all of these components of this, but you can go through this and kind of look and see, have I really looked at all these different things? And do I have a plan? It tells you what to do in an emergency if you do fall. So heaven forbid, we hope that no one falls. That's what we're all working for. But it does tell you what to do within that. All kinds of tips with if you have health issues, if you're under the weather, when do you start to exercise back? So great information, and all of our participants get this. And we review every single class. We review things that are included in this, and then also we bring in other. As we learn, new information comes into us that we look for great sites of education that we will bring to you. So we use a couple of tools here that, and it may be, and this is actually another thing that's a little bit unique for some programs. Some people may have not used ankle weights, except if you've done physical therapy, because I've found that most programs do not do that. And for our programs for SAIL in Tennessee, really all SAIL programs, we encourage the use of ankle weights. And these can be used, if you have arthritis, you could use this wrapped around your arm to do the upper body as well. At our facility, we actually have the great benefit of having dumbbells as well. So we use our dumbbells for our upper body, and we use our ankle weights for our lower body. So that's a really thing that really helps develop that lower body strength, because we know that to build that strength that we want to up the ante just a little bit. So our weights we can increase up with half pounds. Not all facilities may have that, but you can increase that weight in small amounts so you can slowly build up, just as you can with a dumbbell or however that you might use. It might look scary going up 5 pounds, but you might think that you might be able to go up a half a pound in these ankle weights. So another great tool that we have. Now, one thing is that who likes to exercise with music? Now, I think that exercise without music is boring as dirt, pretty much. And so one thing we do is we have great music for SAIL. And every SAIL instructor may be a little different in their choices of music. It'll all be paced at a rate that is adjusted for what we're doing. It'll be a little slower when we do our balance. It'll be a little faster, but still that's at a pace that is appropriate for older adults. So if you're in West Tennessee, you might hear a little Elvis Presley, or I know I was down at the Oasis visiting a class down there, and I heard some great soul music down there in that program. You may be in Middle Tennessee, and maybe it's some country music. Or if you're in East Tennessee, of course, I have to mention Dolly Parton. You might hear a little Dolly. The Everly Brothers were from Knoxville, so you may hear some of that. Or we might put in just a little bit of Rocky Top, because you know how crazy us UT volunteers are. So you may hear that. But the exercise makes it really a lot of fun. You may even hear music, most likely, that will be from your high school years or those really good college years or sometime during your life that you just really enjoy. And you might even feel like singing to our music. I have people that love to sing with music. So another really important portion of SAIL is friendships and that social dynamic. It's so, so, so important. In fact, I think that is almost just as important to help our mental and emotional health. It's so important. So when you come to SAIL, what's going to happen is that you may have moved in new to an area and you may not know anyone, but you're going to come in and you're going to meet people there and they're going to become your friends. And then after class, you may invite them to go out to lunch. I see these kind of things happen all the time. Maybe you'll decide that you want to go walk together. Maybe you'll say, oh, well, let's plan a social for our SAIL friends. So we have lots of socials within our SAIL groups as well. So if you're feeling lonely or you're feeling depressed or all those type of things, SAIL is a wonderful medication for that, to come and bring you into a group and we're all working to get stronger and healthier together. There's no competition. It's just we're going to come together and we're just going to have a lot of fun and we're just going to look forward to coming every single time. So that's a very important component of SAIL. So I'm going to go on ahead and give you a little demo. Now, normally I love music, and I have lots of music that I use depending on the season, whatever that kind of strikes me in there. So we have lots of fun music. But today I'm actually not going to work with music because I want to go through and talk a little bit through some of our activities. So we're going to go through that recipe that we have. So as Sydney mentioned, those things, those safety things that make sure you've got some room to move around you. If you choose to, you may choose to have a chair. Maybe a kitchen chair is a wonderful thing to use. I'm going to also be talking some about our fitness checks as we go in through here too. So I'll be including that. If you got a water bottle and you want to use that for some exercise, you can certainly use that. Make sure you're in those good shoes, not on anything that you're going to slide on. So safety is always really important. And that is really something we bring to every SAIL class is safety, is our environment safety that we exercise in. So we really stress that as part of our education. So going ahead, and if you choose to join me, we're going to warm up a little bit. Now I'm going to be jumping back and forth between this chair and standing because I want to show you what these exercises look like and what it might look like. So if you feel like, oh gosh, I just don't think I know, I have not exercised in 30 years, or maybe you've never exercised and you've retired and it's like, okay, now I have time to exercise. So maybe that might be. So whatever your choice is, and again, as I said, you may do it all seated, you may do it all standing, or you may mix and match. So join me in some exercise. We're going to start with some warm-ups. So I'm going to start with just a nice little easy, just like I'm walking, just a little toe tap forward. Now, if I was seated, it would look the same way here in the chair. I'm going to get some arm motion going on. And we're going to warm up all those major muscle groups. Did I mention how wonderful exercise is for arthritis? Does anyone have arthritis? We oftentimes get, for most of us, as we get older, that we will deal with some arthritis. So we're going to warm up some shoulders. So I'm going to go into a little march. I'm going to take a big deep breath in, taking those arms. Now, if you have shoulder issues, you just bring your arms down a little bit lower. It all works. So just a good deep breath in, standing in that good posture, bringing it down. Now I want you to give me a little breaststroke. So we're warming all those shoulders up. So if you are like me, being in rainy weather. Does anybody get a little rusty in the rainy weather? That we're going to work and make all of that better. So you're going to feel so good after a sail class. Now I'm going to take my feet out just a little bit wider. And one thing we like to do is we rock that baby. So we all like doing this, don't we? We have grandchildren. Maybe you have grand dogs like mine. I have a grand dog. I'm just rocking the baby. Then I'm going to extend those arms. So I'm warming my hips up some. So just nice and easy as we let everything start feeling better. So I'm going to go into just a little, back to that little march and maybe give a big shoulder roll. Again, we're warming those legs up, warming our hips up, chest and our back. Then reaching forward and just pulling back like we're pulling the covers up. We may have to do that again here soon. I hear towards the end of the week, our weather's going to start cooling off. So just a little reach. Now I'm going to shift here to the chair and let me show you what that warm-up may look like seated. If you want to join me, you can, or you can continue on there standing. I'm going to put my equipment here underneath my chair. And we're going to work here. So again, I may do some, I'm taking those legs forward. And I'm going to maybe take my deep breath up with that and start moving in those arms, keeping my feet moving. Just nice deep breaths. And maybe I go back into that breaststroke. And I'm working in that. All right. And then maybe I want to go to a backstroke here. So I'm working maybe if you have some shoulder issues. So many people have shoulder issues these days. It may have been from however you worked through your life. And that you may have that. As I mentioned, my mom was a mail carrier. So oftentimes they had issues there with those shoulders. And then let's maybe do those reaching forward and pulling back. So we're warming up the chest and back. And that is what our exercises look seated and standing. And then I'm going to hop back up here again. I'm practicing my sit to stands today. And so I'm going to go back in. And so then I'm going to work. We're going to go into an aerobic portion. So we want to strengthen that heart. We're going to build endurance as we go through. So again, you might visit East Tennessee and you decide that you want to go to Dollywood, and you may have to do a lot of walking there. So we want to build that endurance. Or I know I had someone tell me that they had their goal was to, many of the high school graduations around here have moved outside, and they thought they were going to have to be at the UT Stadium for their grandson's high school graduation. And so they were wanting to build that up so that they would be able to walk in and build their strength. So I'm going to just make my movements a little higher. I'm going to lift my knees. Now, again, this could all be modified and done seated. So anything that will get that heart rate going, it may look a little different for everyone. You might take those feet a little wider, a little hamstring curl. Now, I work with people behind their chair so that they could hold on to a chair if needed to be. They don't have to work at the beat of the music, so they can work at a pace that feels good to them, because everybody's going to be a little bit individual. We'll be asking people as we go on about how that they're feeling. Can they talk to me? They should all be able to safely talk to me. So we have a little scale that we use, and that we will ask people about to see what level they're in. All right, and I'm going to go back into that marching. So I'm going to use some more arms here. So we may do a little two-step, again, that lateral. So you can make it smaller or bigger. I'm keeping my movements just a little bit smaller here because to stay there on your screen so you can see me. All right, so I'm working that heart rate up. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like in a seated position. So I can work here. Maybe I'm going to go back and use some more arms, and I'm going to maybe do some punches up there in front of me. Okay, so all of these movements we can do seated. I might go from side to side. I'm still working in my legs, all kinds of good things. I may do a little seated jack. So I'm doing the same movement for jack. My knee might stay bent, or it might extend out. So whatever works, it's all good. We modify. We might, if you have shoulder issues, you might bring that arms down just a little bit as we work. So the goal is to get that heart rate up. You're gonna get that breathing up, working on those lungs. So that is what aerobics would look like seated. Then we're going to move in, and as we go through our recipe, now I'm going to keep my feet moving. Okay, I want you to keep your feet moving if you join me. So we got that heart rate up just a little bit there, and we want to slowly let our heart rate down. So we just don't automatically stop and go into our balance. So we keep moving, but we're going to slow our pace down just a little bit. And this is where you would hear the music in Sail get just a little bit slower. So we're going to make sure we're doing well. We're going to keep our head above the heart. So just a little movement. And then we are going to do some dynamic balance moves. So we have several different moves that we do, but I'm just going to go over a couple of them here, each one that we will do. So one that we do is really important, again, is we'll work on up and overs. So I love this move. I work a lot on this. So much like you have your dog laying in the kitchen or cat, and they don't like to move. They're territorial, and you're working on this. So this is a balance move because I'm balanced on one foot as I'm picking up. This may translate also into people stepping up on a curb. Sometimes you have to step up on the curb, all right, or over the curb, the stops there in a parking lot. You may have to step over that, all right, and not have anything to put your hands on. We also work laterally, so we're going to work up and over. So now someone could do this, okay, behind the chair. So they've got the chair for some support. If they're just starting and you're not really sure. So we're just going to pick that leg up and over in there that we're working. So someone may have their house completely safe. They've done everything. They have a shower instead of a tub. They've removed the rugs. Just go ahead and keep that little march there going. But you may go visit somewhere, or you may have to stay in a hotel where you may have to do this. You may have to do a step up and over. Maybe you're visiting somewhere. So we want to work on all those things to make that better. So we work forward, and we'll work our step back, those up and overs, and we'll work to one side. Now, another thing we practice on is walking heel and toe. So we do a few steps forward. Again, if somebody had a lot of issues, we would they'd keep their fingertips on their chair, and we would just see. So what I like to tell my class, maybe you start out and you're not completely heel and toe, okay? Like you're walking on a 2x2. Some days you might have your arms out working your balance, a cue that we would give. Our fingertips could be on the chair, keeping that eye gaze straight up ahead. Oftentimes people like to look straight down when they are balancing. So we try to keep people to keep their eye gaze up. So are you trying that at home with me? Have you tried that for a while? So you may not be there on the 2x2 yet. So maybe some days we have days that we feel like, or people may feel like, okay, I'm good to work on a 4x8 sheet of plywood if I could afford it. All right. So you may just be a little more narrow. So remember me telling the story about the lady that was at the event and she was in the crowd and she had to walk more narrow. And so that's where something like this would help to make that strength, would help to make that easier for you if you were ever in that situation. So that's two of our balance exercise in the dynamic. So we're going to move in. So your heart rate should be down. We're working kind of easy here. So we keep moving, let the heart rate come down, work on our balance exercises. And let me share one more dynamic one, and that is head turns. So you're walking. So much like you are at the grocery store, and you know how at the grocery store they move things around all the time, and you're trying to find that favorite ingredient that you need. And so we'll walk around the room, okay, just walking and practicing that. And that is really a very important thing that we do. So we work on those head turns, okay? Instead of that's also if you are on a busy sidewalk and you have to do those head turns, you have to be stopped and you have to sit and look both directions. You know, I look to see do you have to turn your whole body to be able to do Is that an issue in there, or can you just turn your head to look? Okay, so those are exercises that we would do. And if you were seated, they're going to look much the same way. So in my chair. So think about when you work some up and overs. We all do this more than likely every day. That because we're getting in and out of a car. And some of those cars, it's hard to get in and out of. Maybe we only practice, we're always the driver and we only practice on this side. And we're rarely the passenger, so we don't practice on this side. So this is very important in there in being able to get in and out of the car. So that's just something you may be driving with. You may have an SUV that sits a little higher or a van, and then you have to ride with somebody else. I saw a lady that was up in age getting out of a Corvette the other week. I stayed and watched her get in and out. It was kind of interesting watching her. So we want to be able to, maybe a Corvette is on your bucket list. And so you want to be able to get in and out of that car and not have to have help to get in and out, have somebody pull you out. So very important. So we would work, and if I work in the heel and toe, we would work that seated, and we would just switch our feet. So we're patterning our feet. All right, we're still working on here. Maybe I take those arms out and then I'm working, okay? And I practice my head turns. Even though I'm stationary, I'm still working on that. This is a very critical exercise for anyone that drives, because we want them and everybody else on the road wants people to be able to maintain this. Even though we have all those fancy things in our cars to help us with our blind spot monitoring, we still need to be able to do those things. So, and that's really important. And I have many people come and tell me that, oh, that's very important, that, you know, now I can move my head and I can look at traffic. I've had people come back and tell me that during this crazy period of life that we've had for the past year and a half, that was something that I have lost the ability to do that. All right, so that's a few of our dynamic balance activities and some reasoning behind them. So we're going to go back in to some of our static balances. And so one I want to show you here is just standing on a balance beam. So now if you are in an area somewhere, I know during Falls Prevention Week, there are places that are doing actual testing, balance testing. And so this would probably be one of those things that they would ask you to do, to work on. So this is one thing we work in, and then we would work with the other foot in front. Okay, we would just switch it out. It would look the same way if we're seated. And then you're going to also do a single leg balance there. You can try that out. So now I might have somebody that has a death grip on the chair trying that for the first time. It may be really hard. And then maybe they get to where we can kind of play the piano there a little bit. All right, maybe they're playing chopsticks. And then maybe they're able to remove those hands off that chair. All right, and so we will work that on both legs. So again, we will work, if you're seated, we're going to work that same thing in there. So that are a couple of our static balances. So then we're going to work strength. So if you have some equipment there behind you or around you, and again, you can be seated. I'm going to actually start seated. And as I'm working here, so again, I might mix and match. So I'm going to sit really nice and tall in my chair. You're going to take, if you have dumbbells, or you can just go through the movements without. So one of those exercises we do, and this is actually one of our fitness tests. So it's to do a bicep curl. So how we do this bicep curl in our testing is we'll do 30 seconds and we'll see how many repetitions that someone can do. We make them do them the right way, so you're not swinging your weights. We make you have good form in there. We teach you how to do that. And so we work in that. So we're going to work on our biceps. We're going to work on triceps, a little hinge forward, and working in the back of your arm. So it is really important to keep the back of those arms nice and strong, because if we all know, we all may have a camping chair, that fold-up camping chair that we go sit in, or an Adirondack chair, and it's really hard to get out of those chairs sometimes, aren't they? Something lower. So we do use those triceps sometimes to help us, those back body muscles to help us to get out of a chair. So we're working that. We go through a series of exercises for your shoulders. So you're lifting forward, we're lifting laterally, and then we're doing goalposts. And then if that seems hard or you have an issue there, we give you modifications in there. So we love to help people and to make modifications. All right, so that is our upper body exercises, just very quickly running through that. So I'm going to set my arm weights down, my dumbbells down, and then I'm going to come into standing. So our ankle weights, and just for demonstration for time's sake, I'm just going to put one of them on here. Now, again, these exercises can be done without ankle weights, but they're more effective if you're able to use them. That's the beauty of having these ankle weights. So I'm going to come in beside my chair. So I'll have people work. We're going to work your posture, standing nice and tall in that really good form. So remember that exercise that I told you that we really wanted to keep these hips nice and strong, those glutes in there, those muscles that are there that help you to in those hips and keep that strength. One of those exercises is a leg lift to the side. So without trying to lean, I've just got to keep my toes forward. So I'm really watching that. Now, I'm guessing if you're at home that you don't have a weight on. So let's do a little switch, and we're going to go to the other side, lift the other leg. Now, you may not be able to see me very good behind that chair, but I'm keeping my toes forward. And so this will be somewhere that I would ask, well, is one side different than the other? Am I stronger on one side than the other? Then we're going to go in and we're going to work some knee exercises. So if I were seated in my chair right now, I would be, and if you're seated at home right now, we would work some, and if you've ever had any knee issues, you've probably done a lot of these, that we're going to work and extend that leg. Okay, so if I was seated, I'd work there, and I can work it standing like this. Okay, or I could work just like I'm going to come forward. I'm going to be very careful not to throw that leg out there. Everything's slow and controlled to work those appropriate muscles. Now let's try that on the other side. Just a little movement out. So I'm doing this, so you're on one leg. So you may be able to tell, is one side weaker than the other? For most of us, it is. So our next exercise is a hamstring curl. I'm going to, just like we did in the beginning, is that all that is I'm picking my heel up, and it's going to go towards my bottom. All right, so we work to strengthen these quadriceps. We want to be balanced out, and we're just trying a few of those, again, slow and controlled. Then I'm going to switch to the other side. So we'll do the same number on each side. So we do anywhere from 8 to 12 repetitions maybe, and we might do 1 or 2 sets just depending on our class. So we've worked our knees, we've done extension, we've worked flexion. We're going to work here in this hip. So I like to work in the hip, much like you're going to climb a stair. So the flexion part is here in this hip, just like I am walking the stairs. So that I have that flexion as I'm working there. Of course, I have that weight on the ankle, just working those, making that stronger so you can climb stairs. It'll help give you propulsion as you're going forward. And then I'm going to work here. That was hip flexion. Now I'm going to work some extension, and I'm going to work backwards. Okay, so same thing, and I'm working in those glutes as opposed to the hamstrings. The last one that we do is we come up, work on those toes. All right, so we're giving those calf raises. And so nice and easy. If you have arthritis, you might choose to do that seated. So all these exercises we can do seated. And we'll show you how to do that in cell. So if you're seated right now, so we would work our knee extension. Okay, I could work my hamstrings. I like to work this to tell people we've all dropped a paper plate underneath the table or a napkin, and I'm working, bringing that foot forward, and I'm going to bring it backwards. So I'm working in the hamstring. All right, do that on that other side. I can work here on the hips, and I would just take my leg out to the side and bring it back in. So we're working in the hip, I'm not really lifting it up. Okay, I would work on my hip extension. So we're working just some glute squeezes. So you're just squeezing. So shall I tell you that I tell my group to give me a little squeeze like you ate pinto beans for breakfast and then you went to a very solemn service somewhere? All right, you have a little squeeze. So all those exercises translate into to a seated position. And we work with our flexibility, and we're ready to sit down then. So they can be done standing. But before I get into that, I do want to show you our other fitness testing. And that is a move that goes in our dynamic balance. And as I mentioned, sit to stands. So this is a very critical exercise. I want to show you that. All right. Then our other fitness test is I would stand up, I would walk forward 8 feet, I would turn around, come back, and sit down. So that's what those fitness tests look like. All right, flexibility, extending one leg. All right, so we're going to work in those hamstrings. So work pulling the toe back, starting in the calf. And then in this, doesn't that feel good? And then you can extend the arm forward and then bring it straight towards me like you're going to shake my hand. And then bring it right back. And then we're just going to extend the other foot. All right, sit really nice and tall. Bring the hand forward. And again, nice deep breaths if we're working. You can get sips of water anytime that you need it. All right, we're going to bring it back. And some of our stretches that we do is to bring your hand up, pat yourself on your back. You're going to feel that in that tricep, in your chest, in that shoulder perhaps. Just doing very short stretches, very short holds here. Bring that arm around. You're going to take it back behind you any amount, pulling that shoulder down. Good stretch. And then because we don't want to be lopsided when we leave, let's go ahead and bring the other arm up. And then you're just going to take it back around, sneak it back around behind your back. Oh gosh, doesn't that feel just absolutely wonderful? Very good. So we're going to bring those hands up. And you're going to pull your shoulder blades together, opening in your chest. Doesn't that feel wonderful? And then releasing it down. Now that's a little bit of a shortened stretch, just to give you a little taste of that. But we go from the top of your head all the way down, working rotations for our working in our stretching. And then our education that we mentioned. So I really hope that and invite you to one of our SEL classes. Come try it out. If you know someone, and tell your friends about it. And if you have people that you think might be interested in becoming an instructor, let them know, share this information with them. We hope to have more, the more instructors we have, the more programs that we can have. We're wanting to have this and just all across Tennessee. It's such a wonderful program. I would love to have any questions that you might have. And I'll go on ahead and say, I really thank you for doing this demo with me. And any questions, be sure and let us know. And so tell me, what do you think about SEL?
We don't have any questions that have come in yet, but please,
Okay.
as Terri mentioned, please feel free to submit those questions. Terri, I know you have a couple poll questions. Do you want me to pose those to the group?
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, so I'm going to launch the first question. So the first question is, as soon as it comes up, there we go. Have you done any of the fitness checks that Terri demonstrated? That's the chair stand, time up and go, or those bicep curls? Yes or no? Okay, hopefully we get a few more responses. We're up to about 7. Let's see if we can get up to 10. That's about a little over, a little less than, 11. All right, awesome, guys.
Woohoo!
So of our 11 responses, and there may be some that are coming in through the chat as well, we're at 55% have said yes, they've performed the fitness checks, and 45% have said no. So
okay, good.
Great.
About half and half.
Yeah. Another question. This is an agree to or disagree question. So do you agree or disagree? I can build strength at any age. Agree or disagree? I'm liking the responses to this question so far. Ready? Give you guys about 10 more seconds for anyone else who wants to join in, or you can type in the chat box if you agree or disagree. All righty. Well, Terri, I think you've done such a great presentation that everyone, 100% of respondents said that they believe that they can build strength at any age.
Awesome.
All right, and our
I've
last.
heard from.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to comment that I have heard many people come in and tell me that they don't believe that they, or maybe I've had someone come and tell me that their doctor didn't believe that they could improve on those areas, and they have. And so I always love when that happens. So.
Yeah. All righty, our last question. How much do you like to exercise? A lot? Sometimes? A little bit? Rarely? Or I hate getting sweaty? Okay, we're getting few sometimes, few a lots. We're getting a good group is in the pretty consistent category of getting some exercise. We had 38% of respondents say that they like to exercise a lot, and 62% say sometimes. No one said a little bit rarely or that they hate sweating. So.
All right, that's good. That's good. I like hearing that.
Absolutely. And I think we did have a couple questions come in, so let me find my chat here. All right, what is the usual cost for a class?
Anywhere from being free to just a couple of dollars. I know in our area, we do $1 donation for our participants that come in. For some people, it is a Silver Sneakers Flex program. And for some of those people, it may be no cost. So, but the dollar that we do, and that helps us to anything that we need, like equipment, or we need wipes, or any of those things that we need. Our socials, our paper plates. So we use those funds for that.
Great. Let's see. Is there a fee per class or a program fee? So I think this more goes to maybe is there a fee to be trained to do the program?
Okay, so for the instructor training.
Mm-hmm.
So now is a really good time to come in there because we have been able to offer this for free. And we've been doing virtual training, which the past year and a half, normally we do a 2-day training in person. And so now is a wonderful time to do that. Of course, if you're interested in being an instructor, please talk to Sydney about that, for that training to be free. And we're able, as long as we still have some equipment, that we're able to help that instructor, whatever facility that they're going to be in, to obtain some equipment, such as our ankle weights.
A question came in, how can I find a class in my area?
Okay, on the website, on a TCAD website, there is a great map, and it has all the locations listed on that. And then we're constantly renewing that, updating that as we have new classes come in. So you can go on there and look. And what I would encourage you to do is to call that facility or the instructor and call them and see. Some facilities may be still under some restrictions right now. I know we are in our area, in our facility. And so, make sure, just call that instructor, and they can give you all the information that you would need, any paperwork you have to do, or with the facility, class times, all of that. You can find that on there, on that website.
That was a really great segue, because we did have a comment come in that there are some wait lists on some certain classes, and I think that goes along with what you mentioned with some restrictions and maybe limiting capacity right now for those in-person classes.
Yes. So you may want to, if you have an area that has some restrictions. So this is what we've done, is we've had a wait list that we've kept, and we've been able to accommodate our people on our wait list. So be sure and call and check and ask them about that perhaps you can be put on that, so they can call you if an area is not running right now, or getting ready to. So.
Those are all the questions that have come in. But I always love your stories, Terri, and how you're able to incorporate everything that you do into what we do on a daily basis, from, your stinky baby exercises. Those are one of my favorites. Do you have a story that you'd like to share with the group on any impacts that you've really seen, any of those good news stories?
I think that I have seen some things that I've seen a member of our class that just became from some other issues, became really ill. And she was someone that, that I see now and I look and I'm amazed that actually that she's just still here on the earth. So, but that I know that with her doing the exercise before she got sick, that helped her. And then she was able to come back and she's steadily built her strength. And that is just so awesome to see. Or to see someone come in who had someone with back issues who had not been able to get up out of the chair without struggling to get out of the chair for like several years. And I can remember when we did after, I think we did a fitness recheck after about 12 weeks. And she was able to get up and do 10 of them without her hands. And she was so excited. I don't know who was more excited, me or her, but it was because that's that independence that's so important. So all of those, every time I'm so encouraged every time I do fitness checks. I love them. Or just coming into class. We just have such wonderful people. Our participants are so wonderful. And so they're just great. So.
Terri, I wanted to ask too, haven't you had someone in your class that had Parkinson's?
Yes. So I've had quite a few people that have had Parkinson's or just, various issues that may be similar to that that have come into our program. Yes. And so we've been able to work with them. I had a beautiful person come in here that I worked with that had Parkinson's, and I'm like, he can, although his fitness level was very low, and I'm like, he can keep the beat of the music. Turned out he had been an Arthur Murray dance instructor. So, yes.
The point is
yes.
No matter what your fitness level is,
yes.
No matter what your disability may be, SAIL can still be beneficial. You may not be able to do everything in the program, but I just find what I find so encouraging about the stories of SAIL that we hear is, again, folks who I remember hearing a lady years ago saying, I could barely, get in the door to the senior center that she was going to, and she started doing SAIL and really benefited from that, just after a short period of time. I mean, it really happens pretty quickly that you can start feeling stronger and just feeling better in general. So I just feel encouraged that this program is just so well-rounded and practical for everybody.
We've had someone that's had a history of a stroke. We had a couple of people with that. Have someone whose vision is extremely limited, and we've been able to work with her. So we have people that come in with a walker, and so it can be modified really. And so that doesn't, and then for someone that may be more fit, that we can modify what we do, and we show how to modify it so that we can meet a broad level of fitness.
Exactly. Well, I just think that's so encouraging, and I know when you see those folks come in, I know it can be a challenge, but I know you, Terri, and you're up for the challenge, and such a wonderful example and teacher. And so I've just really, as much as I know about SAIL, I've just enjoyed this today and doing the exercises with you, and it's been good.
Thank you, Rachel.
Absolutely. And I know we're coming close to time. And Terri, I know you actually have a SAIL class that you're going to be teaching here in a minute.
I've got a class waiting out there for me.
Do you have time? Do you have time for just one last question?
I sure do. Yes.
Okay. Someone asked, what about people with osteoporosis? Would they be good candidates for the SAIL class to attend?
Yes. You can certainly do that, and we can modify anything that we need to. Such as someone may have trouble reaching underneath with osteoporosis, reaching for weights. So we've adjusted, we make modifications for how we do things with people. So that, and of course, we're going to always, if they have, more than likely, may have some direction from their physician or physical therapist. So yes, that's all. We work with all those things. So we're going to work on those bones, make those bones stronger.
Great. Thank you so much, Terri, for your time. I wrote down a couple notes. I think in the follow-up email, I'm going to include our fitness check so people can kind of see the normative values of that.
Okay.
Send them the My Falls free plan that you mentioned, so they have that. And also I'll send a link so people can find out where their SAIL classes are in their local communities.
Awesome. Sounds wonderful.
If anyone else has any other resources about SAIL that they would like me to send to the group, please let me know. Thank you so much again, Terri, for your time, and thank you everyone for joining this session. We're excited for tomorrow. June Pewitt is going to be talking to us about Tai Chi. So I hope you all can join us tomorrow, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.